If you had told me that years ago, I would have, my mind would have been blown.
If you had told me this years ago, I would have completely lost my mind. Those were the words of Alex Eala on April 7th, 2026, world number 46. Standing in Mallorca alongside the man who helped build 22 Grand Slam titles, the architect of the greatest clay court dynasty the sport has ever seen, Rafael Nadal's legendary coach, Toni Nadal, let that sink in. A 20-year-old still proving herself on the WTA Tour, now learning from the mind that shaped one of the most dominant forces in tennis history. This is not just another coaching move, this is a statement, and when Aryna Sabalenka heard who had stepped into Ayala's corner, the world number one did not ignore it. She made it clear. This changes things, because this is no longer just about talent. This is about direction. This is about structure. This is about turning potential into something far more dangerous. Toni Nadal does not invest time in hype. He invests in systems, discipline, and mentality, the exact pillars that turn good players into champions and champions into legends. If he sees something in Eala, it means there is something there that goes beyond what rankings currently show, and that is what should make the entire WTA field pause, because Alex Eala was already building momentum. She already had the crowd, she already had the belief. Now she may have the blueprint too.
Every time I go there, it's like a challenge for me, even though I love playing on clay and I feel really good, but it seems like to be a challenge for me.
This Filipino is something special. What happened in the days that followed showed exactly why the entire WTA is starting to pay attention, because this is the moment where a rising story begins to look like something much bigger. Early April 2026, Alex Eala returned to the Rafa Nadal Academy, but this time, not as a junior, not as a prospect. She came back as a professional, bringing one of the most respected minds in tennis into her corner, Toni Nadal, the uncle, the strategist, the man who helped shape Rafael Nadal from a young boy in Manacor into the greatest clay court player the sport has ever seen. Her longtime coach, Joan Bosch, remains at the center of her development, but now Toni Nadal is part of the system, adding experience, structure, and a tactical identity that has already proven it can dominate the highest level of the game. And that changes everything, because while Aryna Sabalenka has been dominating 2026, 23 wins, 1 loss, 3 titles, over 11,000 ranking points, something quietly shifted in Mallorca. Sabalenka has been the standard this season, untouchable, the benchmark every player is chasing. But then, in a recent interview, she said something that made the entire tennis world stop and listen. She didn't call Eala promising. She didn't call her talented. She called her special. And that word matters because a world number one does not use it lightly, especially not for a player ranked 46 in the world, unless she has seen something deeper, something real, something potentially dangerous. What Sabalenka recognized was not just a young player improving. She saw a 20-year-old who now has access to the exact mind that knows how to build a champion capable of taking down the very best. And if you listen to Eala's own words, you can feel exactly what this moment means.
So great, and we're so blessed to have Toni as part of the team.
It's so great, and we're so blessed to have Toni as part of the team. That's what Alex Eala said on April 7th, 2026. If you had told me that years ago, my mind would have been blown. He really has that knowledge and is able to help my team. So yeah, just a great experience overall. Mind blown, that's not just excitement, that's perspective. That's a player who grew up watching Toni Nadal build a dynasty with Rafael Nadal, now standing on the same court, being coached by the same mind. And the footage from Mallorca showed exactly what that looks like. Toni on court, Eala grinding through drills, red clay under her feet, the same surface where a legend was built, now shaping the next generation. But Toni Nadal does not work with just anyone. 22 Grand Slams, 14 French Opens, one of the greatest coaching resumes in tennis history, and now he's part of Eala's team. This wasn't symbolic, it was immediate. Monday, training sessions in Mallorca, breaking down clay court patterns. Tuesday, movement drills, positioning, tactical adjustments. Wednesday, social media posts filled with Vamos energy, igniting Filipino fans worldwide. Thursday, arrival in Linz for her first clay tournament of 2026. The blueprint wasn't theory. It was already in motion. April 7th, Upper Austria Ladies Open. Round 1, Eala versus Julia Grabher. Local favorite, home crowd, clay specialist. Eala won 6-4, 6-3, but the score doesn't tell the real story. She saved 9 out of 10 break points. That's not luck. That's discipline. That's coaching. That's Toni Nadal's philosophy in action. Movement first, patience second, trust the process every single point. Now imagine being Grabher. You're at home, the crowd is behind you, the surface suits you, and across the net is a 20-year-old who just spent 2 weeks learning from the man who built the most dominant clay court player in history. You lose in straight sets. The tennis world noticed. Tournament officials confirmed it. The buzz around Eala was unlike anything they had seen for a player ranked outside the top 40. Filipino fans filled the stands, social media exploded. And then there's Aryna Sabalenka, the dominant force of 2,026.23 wins, 1 loss, 3 titles, over 11,000 ranking points. When she called Eala something special, that wasn't a compliment. That was a warning, because Sabalenka understands what's happening. The same system that produced Rafael Nadal now has Toni Nadal personally guiding a rising star who is learning to think, move, and compete on clay the same way. That's not hype, that's structure. The 2026 clay season is just beginning. Linz was the opening act. Madrid, Rome, Roland Garros are next. And this is not a one-week story. This is a transformation that will unfold over months. On the very surface where Toni Nadal built his legacy, tournament directors are already watching. Schedules are being adjusted, attention is shifting, because this is bigger than one player. This is a shift in tennis itself. Countries like the Philippines are no longer waiting for rare breakthroughs. They are building direct connections to the highest level of the sport. Eala is not an exception. She might be the beginning of a new model. Yes, she lost in the round of 16 in Linz to Jelena Ostapenko, 6-4, 7-5. A clean loss, no drama, no excuses. But that loss tells a different story. Ostapenko is a former French Open champion. Losing to her early in the clay season is not failure, it's a benchmark. And Eala's response said everything. After her win, she spoke about intensity. She thanked Filipino fans in Tagalog. She focused on the process, not the result. That's not just maturity, that's system thinking. That's what Toni Nadal teaches. The man who built a clay court king is now shaping a new contender. The world number 1 is watching and acknowledging it, and the clay season is just getting started. Eala stood on the same Mallorca clay and said, "If you had told me this years ago, my mind would have been blown. Now the tennis world is the one catching up. The blueprint is in place, the momentum is real, and the next 3 months will answer one question: is this just a great story or the beginning of a revolution?"